Live from the Greenroom studios from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Hey! Welcome in, everybody. It's Saturday morning. You know what time it is. It's time for the At Home Show. It's a Saturday morning tradition. Comes to you live from the Greenroom studios at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. We've been doing it in one form or fashion for parts of 2 centuries, 2 millennia, and 4 decades, David Bates.
Pretty good while, that's for sure.
It seems just like yesterday that we started.
Yes, and
the little White House, the blue room of the White House over there.
Yeah, and just yesterday's coming up on 25 years of yesterday, so that's pretty hard to. It's hard to get your head wrapped around. I don't know about you, but I never envisioned us still being broadcasting together after. Well, all
they
this
said
time.
It wouldn't last. You know they did. They were sitting back down the hallway going, "Look at these two."
Yeah. Well, they may still be saying that, but we're still broadcasting.
Yeah, buddy.
And,
we're still standing.
What we're going to start off with first is the weather.
Yeah.
And, of course, we're having a little weather today. It's overcast currently and 32 degrees here at Bates Nursery Station, live from the Green Room here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
Yep.
But we will get rid of those clouds eventually today, and it's going to warm up to about 42 degrees.
Oh, boy.
Where that sun will dominate most of the late morning and afternoon hours, which will make for a reasonably pleasant experience. You can get out, and it won't be terribly bad. Shouldn't be overly windy, but it won't really matter because if you're going to come out here, it's going to be shopping indoors, so it won't really affect you that much. So 42 for the high today, 54 tomorrow. Similar conditions, just a bit warmer on Monday, a little warmer still, but we have rain that moves in, maybe as much as a ½ inch on Monday. As we move into Tuesday, the rain moves out, but the clouds kind of hang around because there's more rain coming on Wednesday.
Boy.
Hallelujah.
Yay.
And then they do wind up on Thursday morning, so they don't hang around all day long, just in the early morning hours.
Okay.
Friday, we have sunshine returning, and of course, mostly cloudy currently as it shows it for next Saturday. So currently 32 degrees here in the Music City. We will take a quick look at the radar. See all that precip that was here before is all moved off into the Atlantic. It's sitting way out there.
Yeah,
our poor friends out in California who have gone from drought to flooding conditions. They've got still more on the way. So hate that for them. Wish there was some way to get that water over the Rockies and get it into a reservoir, but I'm sure they're working on that. But it won't get done in time for all of these to be done. And this week, I believe we will see that we've had a little more than a ½ inch of rain for the week. It has been a few showers around. My graphics are not.
Some hail. We had some wind. We had some lightning with the hail and the wind.
Yeah, but
it was pea-sized here at the nursery.
Yeah, so we've had some little showers around, maybe more this coming week. Again, 32.5 degrees is the actual temp. So it is above freezing. Don't expect to see, don't really expect to see anything frozen precip. Kind of snowed all day long yesterday, but it was just the kind of snow you can enjoy because it's non-threatening. Just coming down out of the sky, making things pretty white. But just not really much. And we had hail earlier in the week.
Yes.
And, of course, when the storms came through, unfortunately, folks, particularly down in Selma, Alabama, there were some tragic fatalities associated with the storm down there. We I know they've got a lot of cleanup and working through that mess. So our thoughts are with those folks, certainly. And apparently we are now officially in the time where that tornadoes are a year-round threat. And because that was January, I don't know, have we had tornadoes in January before?
Oh yeah.
So is there a month we haven't had February tornadoes?
Yeah, all the other ones.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go.
January, February, March. Actually, we get more in the winter if you were to do.
When those transitional seasons seems to be part of the problem anyway. But hopefully we can get through with some non-violent weather happening along, and enjoy getting ready to get out and garden. This week I kind of took a break, Josh, from writing about freezing temperatures.
Slacker.
Well, it's just how much can you write about something that people can't do anything about right now? It's very tough to continue to
watch and look at all that crappy stuff in the yard. I don't want to look at it all winter long. I got to go out there and cut it off right now.
Yeah, they really need to look at it all winter long.
What about Buffy and Skip Laurel and my holly trees? They don't look at it, David. I don't want it.
And I think before we go further, we should bring in the rest of our cast here.
You're
Tyler
deflecting,
Blankenship, you see right there. Good morning, Tyler.
Morning.
Thanks for making us look as as good as we can. And
I won't do makeup though. Sorry.
Well, I think Caroline may do her own.
I do mine. I could do everyone's. Austin does do his own. I taught him how to do it. He
Everybody
puts it on
would
every
look like
Saturday
the Joker
morning.
if I did their makeup.
Maybe one Saturday,
cool.
Tyler can do all of our makeup.
Austin,
for us.
I'll wait till Halloween.
Austin Lowen is on Talk of the Town this week.
Yeah, man.
And Caroline Gant, our tropicals. I kind of wrote this week's article with you in mind, Caroline, because I felt like the last couple of weeks we've neglected you.
Oh, I'm all right. The houseplants are always there.
But I just don't want you to feel like you're underappreciated because you work hard at what you're doing.
Yes.
And actually, the container aspect of the work right now, Austin works quite a lot with because it's a lot of stuff to handle.
It's
some
lot.
more in.
We got so much in.
Hey, don't double stack them.
Oh, you found one of our party hats.
Yeah, don't double stack them.
Yep. That's right. That came on top of our pallets of bird baths. So
Bird baths.
we're about to have those out on the floor, but not yet.
Wow. I saw
I
some
wonder
furniture
how many
too.
of those they broke before they said, okay, we got to do something here.
Break out the party hats.
We need some party hats to draw attention.
So, well, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here this morning. Austin, let's talk for just a moment about your interview and your talk about the freeze damage has occurred to everyone's plants and kind of gauge your response as to how it all went.
Yeah, well, it was a nice interview. They came out here. It was Tawanda who did it with me, who's the sweetest woman.
She is absolutely the most wonderfully sweet person I think that has ever walked the earth. She's incredible. I just adore her.
Yeah, it was really good, and they got me on the interview or whatever, and I spoke on what we've kind of been speaking about, which is kind of just chilling and watching. Unfortunately, you have to look at ugly plants for a while before we know what to do with them. So that was fine. They also got a lot of good. What I noticed about it is they got a lot of good shots of plants that were ailing. So it really got to let people know that everybody's around town looks a lot like yours right now. So they got really good shots of hollies that were dropping leaves, Nandinas that are pretty much leafless, and then also really brown laurels. So those were kind of the big three we touched on. And I thought it was a fun little interview. It didn't take us. We did it in one take and just put it out there. So I haven't actually even really got to listen to it. So my wife, Jill, she videoed it on the TV through her phone, so like the audio didn't pick up very well, so I haven't really got to listen to that very much, but I did get to see the pictures going up there. So it was I thought it was I guess informative, hopefully.
It was great.
Yeah.
No, it was really good. And I know everyone appreciates the efforts that you put out there on that, and that we collectively try to put forth with everyone. The difficulty for people to be able to get their heads wrapped around is that, yes, the foliage is dead. No, the plant is not dead.
Mm-hmm.
And now the plants have been damaged. They do have some dead tips on them, almost certainly.
Wow.
But it's very unlikely that the plants are dead. We've had, this freeze-dried effect that this scorching, when you have 35 mile an hour winds, when it's below zero, it's not really good for tender foliage. Wow. And we all can look out the window and go, yep, that's for sure. And the more fleshy the leaves are, the more susceptible they are to that effect. And because of that, laurels have gotten toasted everywhere around. But really want to encourage everyone to please just be patient. It's very difficult to just stand by and feel like you're doing nothing. I think we need to try to concentrate on doing things you can do something about. That's why I'll hope to write a little bit about the indoors and containers and those kind of things that are more in Caroline's world today, because those are things people can actually take action on.
Mm-hmm. You know what's getting
That's
to the,
my thought.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. And I think another thing, people, if you want to be doing something, then go to those deciduous plants that need to be pruned right now, and let's get those cleaned up. I mean, they don't have leaves on them right now. This is the great time to prune almost everything that is deciduous. We want to avoid some early blooming spring things, say like lilac. Don't prune any of those. You'll prune right off the flower buds. Forsythia, you'll prune a lot of the buds off if you do it now. But tons of things can be pruned. Hydrangeas specifically, crepe myrtle, we can get cleaned up. So there's always stuff to do in the garden. It's just with those leafy things, let's not do that yet.
Yeah, well, and Nandinas have always been categorized as a semi-broadleaf. And what that literally means is that in a mild or normal winter, they're going to retain most of their foliage. In a hard winter, they're going to shed most of it. So if you give them a good shake right now, that foliage is going to drop to the ground if it hasn't already. And then there's nothing wrong with doing that. If you want to clean up part of that mess, be that far ahead of the game. But I can already hear it.
What's that?
The weather forecasters later on in the spring, if this indeed does turn out to be the entirety of our winter, from a meteorological standpoint, it will be dubbed as a very mild winter. But from a horticultural standpoint, it will be exactly opposite of that. So that can be very confusing for people to hear these two diametric opposition views of how the weather was this winter, because as horticulturalists, we view it very differently, and as people who are gardeners, very differently than the historical averages are from a meteorological standpoint. So it's good to know and get a distinction between from what source or what point of view that information is coming. All right.
Know your source.
Questions.
Hey, I got one already on Facebook. If you don't
Well,
mind.
just go
Fire
with it,
away.
John.
Jack
Do
G in Cookville wants to know about pruning equipment, and given all the freeze damage into landscape plants already this winter, would you recommend using a mini cordless chainsaw for pruning small limbs? That's a cool toy, Jack. Yeah,
Definitely
be
a cool
careful
toy.
with
I
it.
know Austin doesn't like cords.
Yeah.
No, I
We
don't.
talked about that last week.
We did.
Yeah. You know what I like to use instead of that? And I will just say this is with a chainsaw, like real small limbs, the smaller, the worse.
Yep.
So just know that you'll
It'll
pop a chain
bind on
off
it.
real quick with too small of limbs. So not necessarily great for like real small limbs, but good for stems that have a little bit of girth to them. My favorite is a battery powered sawzall. Those work really well, and they're easy to handle.
They make a special blade for trimming tree limbs with that
They
has
actually
a
do.
heavy serrated tooth on it. It's for tree pruning. It's not made to do lumber with. It's really made for tree pruning. So
Buy the good blades too.
search those out.
Get the
You can-
Lennox brand. They're really good and
Those
heavy
are the
duty.
best.
They are
Yes.
good.
Yeah, they're the best. But it's just nice to, like Tyler said, it's nice to not have to deal with a cord. For sure. So anything battery powered is easier, or just gas powered.
Particularly if you're on a ladder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you're up tall, you don't want tripping hazards in your
And
already
someone
dangerous
may
piece of
falsely
equipment.
believe that because they've got a small battery-powered chainsaw that it's really not very dangerous. Wrong. They bite and they bite hard.
Yeah.
So
the most dangerous tool you can use.
You really should be thinking in terms of the perilous nature of what can happen to you when you use one at all times. Be mindful of that. So
And keep your keep a battery on the charger, because when it gets colder outside, they don't perform as well.
Yeah, they go out quick.
Yeah.
Most of the appliances that I have for my yard are corded, and I have actually chewed through a cord using an automatic
nervous?
shear. Yes, yeah, and I like to suck on the electricity. It's really great for me.
Mrs.
Calms
Cary
me
is
down.
not allowed to use corded equipment in the yard
Yeah.
at all. No.
I remember the sparking that happened, and it was just very brief because I immediately let off and dropped it.
Yeah, you
But it
will.
was-
Bing.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There's been a number of fingers that have been lost or half
Yes.
lost by trying to grab a cord out of the shrub while you're.
Oh,
Don't do it.
Oh no. Not no.
Sounds scary.
Very good. Good luck, Jack. Be careful. It's what we're telling you.
All right. Here's our first Instagram question of the morning. What are
Okay.
the best options for shade-loving evergreens in our zone, which our zone is zone 7?
Shade-loving evergreens. There's a few of them. The very first one that comes to mind, which took a real bad hit this year, was Akuba. That's the very deep shade-loving plant, which not a ton of plants that are evergreen like that really love deep shade. They just really don't. So Akuba japonica is the species, and it is a great shade-loving plant. Grows fairly upright. It'll get 6 to 8 feet tall eventually, and somewhat slow to get there, not extremely fast. Another one that's a really good shade-loving evergreen that's got more of like a needle-like appearance to it is a plum yew. Cephalotaxis is the genus of that plant. Great for a pot. We sell them a lot for pots. They're a great little evergreen for your front porch if you want to do something other than like a Boston fern or something.
I love mine like that. Just wanted to chime in.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad you did.
Looks like a fern all year round.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. It stays evergreen. They're very, very hardy, very tough. We've got, there's 2 different kind of forms of that plant. One that goes kind of sprawly and outward, and then one that goes very vertical, very upright. They're very slow growing plants. Do know that. So if you, like I said, they're good for a pot in that way, is where they don't outgrow their pot super quickly. You can keep them in the same pot for a few years, and you don't have to move them. Just make sure you kind of fertilize them in the spring. Keep them actively growing. But those are 2 of my probably favorite, deep shade evergreen type plants. There's also azaleas, like kind of the old school classic azaleas that can live in some shade. They don't want full shade all day though, but they can handle it as well. So there's a few options for some shade loving evergreens.
Perfect. All right.
Very nice.
Tips for bare root trees to keep them happy.
Put them in the dirt.
There it is.
Josh, you pretty much nailed it. I mean, that is kind of, if you can get them planted, get them planted.
Yep.
If you can't get them planted, then you want to keep them somewhat protected and not, you don't want their roots exposed to air specifically. So you want to kind of keep, a lot of times they'll come in like sawdust or some sort of material like that. You could use like, say, pine fine, soil conditioner. You could even keep them in soil if you really wanted to, like in a pot. Just keep the air off of them. Make sure you keep them moist but not soaked. We want to know that. And then, get them planted as quickly as you can. And since they are bare root, there's not a lot, to hold them in place. So you want to make sure you have a stake, some sort of either bamboo stake, a tomato stake, a wooden post, a T-post, whatever. Right after you plant it, you want to try to keep it staked up where it needs to be, nice and straight, so you don't see that wind coming in and kind of bending them, and getting them not straight anymore.
Do they sell big bare-rooted plants?
No, not usually, rarely.
Usually teeny tiny.
Well, it's usually like the Arbor Day Foundation will send
Right.
a lot of stuff like that. And like I said, it usually comes in like a sawdust bag type thing.
Yeah, and the biggest mistake that is made with bare root items is letting them just get a little bit dry at some point in the process before planting. I mean, you literally never allow them to dry out while you're handling them. So, I mean, get your hole dug, your soil prepared, take them out of the package, go straight to the ground, backfill it, water it immediately. And so long as it has not gotten dry to that before that point, then you should have a reasonable opportunity to have good success. But you cannot allow those to lie out where they get sun or any wind on them.
Even just a few minutes will kill
your
them.
attrition rate goes up exponentially. It's a huge thing.
So defying almost all odds, I had shipped to me a bare root mulberry tree, and it was probably about 3 feet tall. Came in a tube except for the bottom root zone, which was wrapped in newspaper that was soaked in water. But then the newspaper on the outside was wrapped with plastic bags, layers of plastic bags, and it was wrapped very tightly around the stem, so it kept in as much moisture as possible, locking out the oxygen. And I actually let it sit in a shed. Now, the shed didn't get that much light. It did have a window, but it didn't get that much light for months. And, because I was like, where am I going to plant it? And there was this decision process and procrastination. And to this day, it's on its like third or fourth year. I eventually did plant it. It was very resilient. So,
very cool.
Not all plants might be like that, but I had a pretty good experience, and mine was also wrapped really well. So
I had some white pines die because I had gotten them from it was
those are white pines, Josh.
Yeah, they were. I had gotten quite a few of them, so I was unpackaging them, and I set them down on top of a brown paper bag. Went inside to eat some lunch. By the time I got back out, they had already desiccated, and you could tell where they were in the yard because they didn't grow. The other ones were fine. Take it out, put it in the ground. I mean, so I think there were about 6 or 7 of them that I just let there. I had 60 cents in them, though. So I mean,
it's not bad.
No. Anyway, what else we got?
We just got a YouTube question.
Okay.
I have a grow light from Amazon. It said it was a grow light. It can be red or blue, or red and blue at the same time. What are the different colors for?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
I didn't do it. Okay.
Austin, what are you?
That wasn't yours?
Nope. Not
Yeah,
mine.
you just got some grow
No,
lights.
it's from Jake
Jake.
State
on
Farm?
YouTube.
Oh,
Jake
okay.
from State Farm.
I didn't catch Jake's last name from State Farm, but Jake Dickerson is the one who asked the question on YouTube.
Oh, Jake, you're really testing me today because I do remember I remember going over the light spectrum in plant science back in the day. This was over a decade ago now, and I can't honestly remember. I'd have to do some research myself on like what the red versus the blue, like the spectrum of light and how plants respond to that.
Well, I think red is for blooming.
Okay.
And more of the blue light is for foliage, for leaf health.
Well, there you go.
There it
I
is.
guess it's based on maybe what you're growing. I mean, if you have something indoors that you want to just produce leaves, and typically this time of year, most things are just leafing or just chilling. They're not necessarily blooming all that much, but if we start getting into the growing season and there's plants that you've been growing and the foliage looks healthy and they're looking like they want to bloom, then I guess we would switch over to
Jake is growing
red
peppers.
Peppers.
I do know Jake, but I mean, he's growing peppers, and I think he started them from seed. So
nice. So right now we need to be working on the foliage. We need to get a nice, green, healthy looking plant so it can produce flowers whenever it's time to do that. So I guess we're going blue light right now.
Yeah, and I think more to the point is day length and how many hours of light you want to give that. And if you're trying to get them into active growth, you need to be somewhere in about the 14-hour range.
really, wow.
Yep.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah,
So basically,
plants like long days. That's when you see them really putting on a lot of growth. So certainly at least 12. That only gets you past the equinox of spring. That's when the day and night are almost the same. So you want to get beyond that. It may be only 13 and a half, but it needs to be a bit more than that in order to be able to really send those signals to the plant that we're serious about this growing thing. Hey, another thing that's serious about growing is EarthMix garden
you
products.
betcha.
And if you want to have the very best success in growing, then the entire line of things around your home, be it tropicals, Caroline certainly will recommend Proganics I, the professional indoor growing mix. Contains no peat whatsoever, as do none of the EarthMix products contain peat moss. It has coconut core, which is in there to, we feel like it's a more sustainable input, and it also does not attract or propagate the fungus gnats that you get with the peat mixes. So it really makes things a lot cleaner and neater when you're growing inside. So consider Proganics I. If you're getting ready to garden and getting ready to try to get your plants coming back around, you ought to be thinking about Proganic Supernatural, and that of course is it is what it says. It is a supernatural type nature of compost. It is not sold as a fertilizer, but your plants don't know that. It's a very intensely nutritive. Also has had additional endo and ectomycorrhiza fungi and humic acid incorporated into it. It has things like earthworm castings and other great inputs put into it. It achieves results that no other compost can achieve. So,
and it's like the beetles. It has no peat. It's got Ringo, right? No peat in the beetles, right?
Whatever. Okay. No Peters. No. Okay. So, anyway,
just two now.
If you're going to just plant landscape plants, well, guess what? EarthMix Landscape is the choice.
Dun, dun, dun.
And it is good for planting trees, shrubs, ground covers, ornamental grasses, whatever you're thinking about planting. It's the good all-around choice. And you may wonder, well, where can I get these? Well, if you click over on the Find EarthMix tab at earthmix.net, click there and you'll see a whole map will come up of all the locations around Middle Tennessee and Kentucky.
Wow.
It actually did not go to California this week. I'm gratified about that. It'll show you everything that is around. There's a 100-mile range. You can go out a little further, and it'll show you the locations that are further out still. So up into Indiana and Ohio. So
Illinois.
There's a location you can either put your address in here, or just click on any one of them for turn-by-turn directions. So remember this: success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use EarthMix garden products. And we appreciate you giving us a moment to talk about that. Don't forget the great handy dandy soil calculator.
Yeah, buddy.
On the site that really helps you to figure out what you need exactly, and without having to just take a shot in the dark guess. It's a great little tool there, and help yourself to it. EarthMix garden product. So we thank you much.
It's like the Beatles.
All right.
Speechless.
On to more questions. Any native vines you would suggest for privacy screening?
All right. Native vines. A couple that come to mind. Honeysuckle is one that certainly, I don't know that it's truly originally native here, but is definitely around and in the woods now.
Naturalized.
Yeah, it's naturalized for sure. And they got some new varieties, some new cultivars that are coming out that are pretty, got a lot of good colors to them. That would be a nice one, but they're truly deciduous. Another one that comes to mind is crossvine, which is a really nice growing
Bignonia.
Vine. Yeah, Ben Trest, who works here, really good with plants, and he really likes his crossvine. His mother's got one, he's got one, he's all about it. It's got really good color change in the fall, so it'll go this kind of, I don't know, what do you call it, purpley red.
It's like a deep purple.
Yeah. It's really attractive, and the foliage doesn't seem to fall off. It kind of wants to stick around. Don't you have one?
I do want to say something about it. Yes, I planted. Josh, quit singing. Hush, Josh. I planted one. I believe it was in the fall. Oh my gosh, Josh, mute him, Tyler. Mute him right now.
He gets a 30-second mute.
Put your dunce cap back on too.
Yeah, stick that hat back on.
That's what you get.
And all right, now we're good to go. So, like I was saying, I planted one in the fall, right near my house.
He's never changed.
Yeah, I don't think he ever will. It's grown a lot for one. It has kind of created a small privacy screen on the side of my front porch, which is what I'm going for. It'll be years before it gets there. But with this deep freeze, it didn't really damage the plant at all. It actually, the leaves turned this like gorgeous red purple color. They got even deeper, and the plant's still alive. It didn't take any damage, or at least mine didn't, with that deep freeze we got a few weeks ago. I absolutely love this plant.
It's a good plant. It really is.
Ben talked about it for a couple years, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I don't regret it at all.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I have it too, and it has survived Hasn't really dropped very many leaves. The 1 year previous, it did drop a few more leaves. I think that might have been due to drought, though. But it still held on to about half its leaves. This year, I haven't seen any leaf drop at all. And the color's spectacular.
Yeah.
You just had to have some kind of structure for it to grow up onto, or else you won't be able to get that effect. But it's
growing on a trellis.
It is a wonderful native vine, and of course we haven't even mentioned the fact that it has these gorgeous orange flowers on it, and so it's really the best of the native vines, and it's a little on the slow growing side. So I would, if I was going to plant to try to get a full effect, that's one of those things that I would plant it pretty heavy, but otherwise you're going to be waiting a long time.
But yeah, you can train it pretty much to go in any direction you want it to go. So that's kind of cool. You can make it go lateral. You can make it go up. So good for privacy.
And it seems easy to control and contain, unlike some other vines, passion flower. So
You hate
I hate passion. I hate it.
Wisteria.
But it's not evergreen.
Mine is. My passion flower is evergreen.
You
it
just
won't die.
You have a non-native.
It's the worst plant. It's not. I got carried away.
Well, wisteria, could actually break down your structure that you've got it growing on. So
Very woody.
Very strong.
It's
very.
You will get it, and you will not be able to get rid of it either. So thank you guys for everyone participating on that one, and for you trying to keep it to a minimum, Josh.
Hey, we have a question from the Facebook page from a person who called the very first at-home program, David Bates.
Oh my word!
Yes.
Wow.
Pray tell who?
Would it be Greg Villaflor from Corinth, Mississippi, David Bates?
I believe that would have to be the one and only.
He used to be from Thompson Station, but I think he's
he used to be Greg from Thompson Station, but he hasn't been in Thompson Station in a long
time. So, but he wants to know: will newly installed Palisades Zoysia sod have been injured from the freeze?
Yes.
Maybe. You think? Is it going to be hard to tell, or?
Well, I think the key here is newly installed. I think, if it were established, I'd say it probably didn't do anything, but newly installed, and that goes with the shrubs too that got affected. Newly installed stuff may have, and probably for sure, it took harder hit than most. So it's possible. But once again,
it's brown. How are you going to know?
We can't say anything yet. I mean, we really don't know until it wants to leaf in the spring.
Now we're at Myers Zoysia. I would not have concerns about it, Greg. But Palisades is a hybrid that is known to be not quite as hardy. Now, you wouldn't think in Corinth, Mississippi that really matters, but you probably saw either zero or just slightly below zero temperatures even there, because they're in the northern part of Mississippi. That's not the kind of temperature range that you want to have. Now, here's a couple of things that may help you is that, and I don't know, I haven't looked at the maps from back on that date, but we did have good precipitation leading into the freeze. And if you even got just a scant covering of snow or freezing rain, sleet,
whatever,
all those help provide insulation. So hopefully you got enough to provide a little bit so that you would not have too much die out in that. So hopefully that will be the case.
He had a follow-up too, and he wanted to know about a Prairiefire Crabapple that was pruned back in November.
I've got no concerns for crabapples.
Okay.
I wouldn't think. Yeah, I mean,
don't cut any more off, because you're going to cut the blooms off of those too, won't they?
No,
they already did.
Yeah, cut them off last November. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you probably cut off some. I mean, it's probably a small young tree though, and it's okay to do some shaping to kind of get it where you want it. But yeah, I don't think crabapples are going to. I don't honestly think much deciduous plants are going to be affected by this very much.
Yeah.
Good.
So there you have it.
Okay. All right, we got a houseplant question. Yeah. I have a Pink Princess, and now all the leaves are super tiny. The bigger leaves fell off. So Pink Princess, that's a philodendron if you're not sure what that is. And we actually just got some in at the nursery this week. First time we've ever had them, but just know the variegation is pretty low on the ones we got. Without knowing how old the plant is, how long you've had it, what the conditions are, how long it's been in that pot, I would say it's either going to be getting too little light, which is going to cause those leaves to drop and the new leaves to be smaller. Nutrient deficiency, so if you haven't fertilized it in the last year, you need to go ahead and up that fertilization. They are heavy feeders, so it'll need that. And then possibly a watering issue. So it could be one of those three things or a combination of those three. Water and light will really affect those leaves dropping. So just check on that or call the nursery, come in, or you can send a follow-up with some photos of that plant. But I would say check those three, fertilize it if you haven't fertilized it, but kind of hold off until March. So
I bet I'm going light on this one. I think
thinking
you nailed it on
light.
the first one. Yeah, like not enough light will keep them smaller. That would be my guess.
Pink Princess can also be a little finicky.
I'm looking for some clarification. When you say ours are variegated,
Yes.
but low,
So Pink Princess.
You mean there's not a lot of evidence of variegation, not that they're at the lower parts of the plant.
Correct. There's not as much variegation as some people want in them. It was considered a rare house plant until recently. It started moving to big box stores and actually coming into Kroger grocery stores in their houseplant area. But about 5 years ago, it was like a $600 plant to get, and it was really hard to get your hands on them. So the better ones, the ones that are going to be more expensive, have higher variegation. The leaf will be like a dark kind of maroon color with this gorgeous light pink and sometimes even some like minty green in it. I haven't seen a plant like that before. It's amazing. But the ones we got, they do have some variegation. It's just not quite as high. So there's not as much of that contrast. And some of the leaves are just going to be a solid maroon color. But it's still worth getting. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about buying one. I already have one. But like I said, mine's pretty finicky. The leaves will get stuck coming out. I had a problem with them being smaller until I brought it into more light. So you might just have to play around with that one. All right, we got 2 bulb questions in. People are wondering, is it still too late to plant fall bulbs?
No, I don't think it is. I think it's time. You could have already done it, most certainly. But at this point, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't still come up in the spring. The key is just finding them. Do we have bulbs? We don't have.
No, we don't
yet.
have bulbs anymore.
Yeah, that's the problem, is just finding them. So I don't know if Lowe's or Home Depot or any of those big box stores might still have some. I haven't been there in a while, but I know for us, we don't have our fall bulbs anymore. They sold out, and so that's kind of, if they're available, then definitely get them in the ground. But
don't wait.
Now, don't wait anymore. But because for us now, we're going to switch into those spring bulbs. That our next shipment will be spring stuff. So that's going to be more like your dahlias and your elephant ears and those things you plant in the spring. So
I'm ready for those.
If you find them, put them in.
I'm still putting bulbs in the ground. I don't know how they'll do, but I have them, so I'm going to do it.
If they still feel viable, I don't see why they wouldn't.
They do.
Do they light up, Caroline?
Yeah.
It's
You know what can
electrifying.
happen to them if you plant them now? Say they already had those. If you plant them now, they may in fact flower late, and the flowers may be less significant than they would have been otherwise. So simply because if they weren't pre-chilled bulbs, that is to say that they had no dormancy built in on the front end by being in a refrigeration system for a while, then they're likely not to have the as much impact flower wise as they would have had. But I definitely, if you've got them already, get them in the ground, and because you're not going to get anything out of them in the bag.
That's right. That's why I'm still planting mine.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. When is the best time to mow or cut back a pollinator and wildflower bed?
Is that Miriam? I see Miriam. Hey, Miriam.
Hey, Miriam.
Have you not cut back your wildflowers yet, Miriam? No, I'm just playing. You're cool. If they're still up, though, there's no point. If you want to collect some seed, do that now while they're still up. I bet they still might have some seed clinging onto there on some of those wildflowers and pollinator beds. If you want to have fun and kind of collect some of those and replant next year, you can do that now. But if they're up, I'm assuming that all of them are probably brown and kind of have that tan color like grasses would do or whatever. So if you're seeing that, then let's go ahead and get those mowed down, cut down, however you want to do it. They're going to come back without a problem, especially if you used, plenty of perennial type wildflowers. If you did use annual wildflowers, a lot of them will freely reseed by themselves without you having to do anything. Or you could make it more controlled and collect those seeds like I talked about and start them yourself. But yeah, it's time to get that cleaned up.
Nothing else.
Yeah,
to do
clean it on up.
Titans aren't
There it
playing,
is.
so
Yeah.
Hey guys, let's shift gears here for just a second. Let's talk about where we all are today. And that's Bates Nursery and Garden Center. And we are open on Saturdays from 10 until 2 o'clock. So
10,
it's going to be
not 9.
just a minute, hour and 20 minutes before we are open. But we certainly invite you to come on out. We have fully half of our display area that is undercover now, from our checkout area all the way down to the very back end of our greenhouse area. And I've got some photographs from Joy Bovin yesterday showing our new benches that she is building down there. So we're always working on trying to make things better here at Bates Nursery. And because we have the best customers, and we believe you deserve to have the best shopping experience you can. And that's not just facilities, however. That's, expertise. You get that here on the At-Home Show on Saturday mornings. And if you come out to see us, you're going to be able to get that one-on-one with our landscape professionals here on our staff. We invite you to take photographs with your tablet or with your telephone. Bring those along with you. It may be that you're just in planning stages right now. That's good. This is a good time of year to be planning. Bring those out here and we'll help you figure out a plan and put that together. So when you do get ready to plant, you've got a kind of a roadmap going forward to help you get pointed in the right direction. And so you don't get a plant put in a spot where it's not the right spot. We're really big about helping you get the right plant in the right place the first time, because that's the way we do it here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, where we've been beautifying Nashville since 1932, our 91st year here in the Middle Tennessee area. We appreciate the opportunity to get to meet your horticultural needs, and we work really hard from Julie Patterson, who is our green goods purchasing agent, who scans the United States as locally as much as possible, and then we go all over to find things of interest. And
yes, they do.
And things that are also going to make an immediate impact in your landscape. It may be that you simply don't want to wait, for 5 or 6 years for something to grow into it. We have all those things and everything in between: trees, shrubs, ground covers, ornamental grasses. We've got fruiting plants. We've got everything you could think of, and probably a few things you didn't even know existed. Come out and see us. We're conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike. That's just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, or Nashville West. And I promise you this, it's worth the drive no matter where you're coming from. Check out our website. That's right here, batesnursery.com. And if you are interested, I have a weekly newsletter. You can just scroll down the page there. You can put your name and your email address in and click that you agree to be emailed, because it won't send it to you if you don't click that. And if you do click that, you'll get the email, or you can simply go right here on our most recent blog post. And this week, I took a week off from talking about frozen foliage on plants and talked about tropicals, containers, soils, and such, and that is in this week's. I invite you to go check that out. We are, as I again said, we're open from 10 until 2 today. We're closed on Sundays, Monday through Friday from 9 until 4 o'clock. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932, and we appreciate you giving us a moment to talk about that.
It's true,
hopefully
folks.
Meet your horticultural needs.
Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Caroline?
Yes.
What have we got in the studio today? This is all your stuff. stuff.
It is all my stuff. You are right about that. We decided to go with a houseplant, theme today because, like we've talked about, the houseplant area is full. It's thriving because it's houseplants are the best. So in front of us here, I've got this beautiful Rex begonia, which Austin and I were just talking about how pretty the leaves are.
You guys can't stop touching it.
Yeah, the leaves have just been moving the whole. It's been dancing the whole broadcast, but the leaves are amazing, and they do get these tiny little pink blooms that are usually towards the base of the plant. So it will bloom, but they're known more for their leaves rather than their flowers. And then we have one of my very favorite houseplants in the blue star fern, which is right next to me. I would say this is one of the easiest ferns to care for. It can sit dry for quite a while as far as ferns go. I mean, you don't necessarily want it to sit dry, but it's not going to immediately shrivel up and die like a lot of other ferns. Plus, the leaves will get like 3 to 4 feet long as they mature. It's a really, really cool plant, easy to take care of, and it can handle a little bit more sun than most ferns as well. And then over on your side, Josh, if you point to that plant, nope, not behind you, but in front of you, that bird's nest fern. There it is. Yeah. So that huge, beautiful green, that's a fern. Doesn't really look like one. And if you look in the center, the leaves start folding out and it resembles a bird's nest. So
there's also one
name.
Over here, right?
There's also one. Yes, Tyler, you
and
matched
it's got the
those
gnarly
plants.
texture to it on the ends.
It
too.
does. Yeah. It has little jazz hands on the end of that one. There's a couple different varieties of that same fern, but that one's one of my favorites. And we've got some Norfolk Island pines, which, you think about some of these holiday house plants that you'll get as a gift, and then a lot of people will just throw them away, but you shouldn't throw them away. Poinsettias, Norfolk Island pine, Christmas cactus, they're all great house plants, and as they mature and grow, they're great. I've had a Norfolk Island pine for about 3 years now, and I love it. And I have a friend who's had one for a long time, and hers is probably like 8 feet tall at least. She puts it by her pool every year, and it's gorgeous. So
they like a lot of light though, right?
I've got a friend who's had one for about 40 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, they're really easy.
But they live in Hawaii.
Oh, well, there's
This is
that.
a landscape plant.
Yeah.
That'd be a Norfolk Island giant by this time, right?
Yeah.
There it is, Tyler. Josh, you did ask about them liking a lot of light. They do. So naturally, they thrive in full sun. But I found having them here at the nursery, and I actually have 2 at home, mine kind of thrive in lower light. So when I get mine into direct sunlight, the leaves, kind of like an aloe plant does, the plant will turn like a whitish light brown color, like in a day, as soon as that light hits it. So I actually have mine on a shaded porch in the spring and summer where it doesn't get any direct light, but there's a lot of bright indirect light throughout the day. And then in the winter, I keep it on my mantle in my living room, and it doesn't really have that much sun at all. So like I said, it can be a lower light plant. That's how I treat mine, but you can slowly adapt it to highlight if you do want it to be outside. Like I said, my friend has one by her pool, which means she keeps hers in a lot of light through the winter because then it's sitting in full sun spring and summer. And then behind you that you were pointing out earlier, Josh, are Dracaena. So a great low maintenance plant. It's got some cool variegation on the leaves. And then behind you guys, right in front of the TV, is our split leaf Monstera. Yeah, show it off, Tyler.
Those look good.
They do look good. They're big. They're
are
gorgeous.
Monster
They're gonna
Monstera.
eat your living room in a good way. So that's just a small sampling of what we have in our houseplant section right now. We have so many more plants.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild in there.
Yeah, it's a very small sampling of what we have in there.
Oh gosh.
Yes, it is. All right, we've got a couple more questions on my end. Tyler, did you say you have one on Google?
Yes, there's a Google one, but you can go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. 10-foot tall Sun Valley red maple has formed 2 leaders near the top. Cut one or leave it be? That's a fantastic question.
That's a great question. It really is. And most trees, just so we know, most trees do not just keep one single leader the whole way up for their whole life. I mean, a number of trees will, like pine trees are known for doing that. That's why we use them for lumber, because they have one main stem that's really easy to cut and use. Now, deciduous trees rarely ever do that. And to be honest with you, in the trade, a lot of nurserymen will top out leaders and then create more to make a nice, full, much more full plant down whenever they're young. But to answer your question, if you want to keep a single leader, then cut the other one off. if you don't, like I said, they're not going to keep a single leader the whole way up. So when they're young, though, I mean, if you can get to, it's only 10 foot. So you could keep a single one going if you can get up there and cut that other one off. But yes, to answer your question, it's not going to hurt the plant whatsoever to go ahead and remove one of those. Just make sure you pick the one that's, keep the one that's the straightest and the sturdiest and that looks the most healthy, and then take the other one, or let it be, and that tree will be its own tree. You know what I'm saying? Like, whenever trees grow out in the wild or they come up from seeds, no one's out there to prune them, so they're going to do what they do. And sometimes they take 3 liters. Even when they're young, they can do that. So, it can be left alone. It can be trimmed either way. But now's a good time to do it.
What do you prefer? You like to take them out and have one?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Now, what's the variety of maple?
Sun Valley.
I'm not
Which
sure.
it's a red maple, and it's a good one. I mean, it's just another, it's prized for its fall foliage. And for me, I don't know. It's a good question. I've never really had to. I guess whenever they're real young, I guess I would take one and just keep it a single leader. But I just know trees. I know how they grow, and they just don't do that. They don't keep a single leader the whole time. So they just canopy out. But yeah, I mean, when it's only 10 foot, you can go ahead and do that if you want to, if you're just itching to do something.
All right.
There you go.
Scratch that itch.
Do it. All right. We have one final question
Okay.
on my end. How to prepare Bermuda grass lawn for new garden bed area. Oh, so many ways.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
It's a battle.
I could chime in on it a little bit.
Do
too.
it.
Do it,
Tyler.
Ty.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Chime away.
Get the Tyler cam on, though.
I can't do the Tyler cam.
Do the
I'm sorry.
Tyler cam.
Why?
No, I can't.
What's wrong
Don't
with
force me to do it.
Do the Tyler cam.
Well, the thing that's important is that you don't have to prepare the Bermuda grass. It's the new garden bed area you've got to be concerned about, and how do you keep that Bermuda from encroaching back into it?
Mm-hmm.
And the short answer is you can't.
It's almost unstoppable.
Keep working at it.
You can edge and edge and edge and maintain the edge, and then the leaders that try and crawl over the edge, cut them back.
Yeah. It was worth a shot.
Ben and I have done a little experiment killing back foliage. We've determined that black plastic is the most sufficient for choking out growth, and you would pretty much need that and maybe even a couple layers to really completely choke out Bermuda grass. Short of using chemicals to remove it, or even just scraping the entire topsoil layer off. It's very stubborn,
Or
very
all
hard to
of
get
the
rid
above.
of. Yep, even
Very
that.
I mean, you could make a box. How about that? Like, just build a raised bed, I guess, on top of it, and that'll.
Yeah, they find their way in on those too.
I know, they will. but-
Sometimes they can just grow leaders out the bottom
Yeah.
slats if they find a way.
Yeah, Bermuda is something.
Yeah.
I mean, Roundup doesn't even kill it. It'll kill the foliage for a minute, but
Really?
it doesn't kill the rhizomes down below. No, it'll reshoot. Wow. I mean, it's intense.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that was so.
Done.
I guess there's your answer.
Okay.
Attack on all fronts and aggressively.
Yeah.
Full frontal assault.
Okay.
We got a couple on Facebook, but you've got one on Google.
Yeah,
right?
let's smash this Google one real quick.
Okay.
Valerie asks, what are the best shade trees for the large grassy area near our Brentwood playground shade? Would like some fall color too.
Fall color.
It's in Brentwood, so
Wow, that
don't
went
know.
out of bounds a little bit.
All right, let's think. Fall color. I mean, maples obviously come to mind. The red maples, the sugar maples. Great shade trees. They just are. I mean, they're one of the best. They do have very large surface roots as they age. So that's one thing. I don't know about the playground. Kids running around and stuff. I mean, it's kind of a fun thing, I guess, for kids to climb up on the roots and such. But yeah, like I said, fall color. I mean, the maples definitely come to mind. We also sell sweet gum. Sweet gum has pretty good fall color. It's different. What's cool about sweet gum is that you kind of see different fall color almost year to year. Sometimes you can see yellow. Sometimes you can see like purplish red hues in sweet gums. They are somewhat of a messy tree. They drop those gumballs that we can all think of. So there's that.
Those hurt on bare feet.
Yeah, they really
sticker
do.
balls.
But there are some fruitless sweet gums.
There are.
however, that
Lindens come to mind. Linden's a cool little shade tree. Not a lot of people even know what a linden is. It's great for the bees. It's a great pollinator tree for bees. They absolutely love it. It smells fantastic. Fall color is typically yellowish, but it's just a perfect little lollipop style tree. Single stem to a top canopy that doesn't get crazy big, but gets big enough to cast shade. So it's not one that a lot of people think of, but I think it's a cool little plant to use. Also, I guess, what else comes to mind? Zelkova,
Black gum, maybe?
What's that?
Black gum.
Oh, black
perhaps?
gum. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, I said Zelkova. Caroline can't believe I said Zelkova.
It's Austin's least favorite tree.
It's my nemesis tree. No, I don't hate. I guess, I do.
You do.
I'm not big on
seen
Zelkova.
the hatred in your eyes.
I know. It's like a little, I don't know.
What's your problem
Zelkova's
with
one
it?
of the first trees I ever properly identified in college. I will say that.
And it gave you some hard feelings, I
boy.
guess.
I don't know why. Nobody knows Zelkova. Zelkova's a great urban street tree. It can take pollution better than most. It can live in very poor soils. It doesn't need a lot. It's just like it just doesn't do it for me. It's just a little leaf. Looks like an elm, kind of.
There are a lot of plants that doesn't do it for Austin.
I'll tell you right off the bat,
I'll tell you something.
If I don't like it, I'm telling you. But that doesn't mean you can't like it. Zelkova is a good tree for general livability. Zelkova very high. It will live. Don't get me wrong. It just doesn't do it for me. But good shade tree. You can think about it. We typically always have them, mainly because they don't sell.
You got to keep moving them around. That's why he doesn't like them. Yeah.
No, we have Zelkova. Even if you don't even know what a Zelkova is, we've got it.
They don't sell because you don't sell them.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Well, he just alphabetically never gets that far down.
That's what it is.
That's
See,
exactly what it is.
I only get to A, B, or C, and then that tree's gone.
Okay.
But no, David had a great point. Black gum. A lot of people don't know what that is either. It's a great one for fall color and also new growth color. It's spring growth burst with this red and then green tucked back in behind it. Cool. I did a video on one called Wildfire Black Gum a while back, and that's a really good one. Casts a lot of shade. So there you go. We got plenty of shade trees though. There's a lot of options. I'll walk you around the tree lot.
Nice.
Got a bunch of them out there too. Big ones. All righty. Greg from Corinth asked a follow-up question to a follow-up question. He wanted to know how long does it take to be the sod to get established. I asked when was it installed. He said the front yard was the first week of May last year, and the backyard was August, and the side yard were in September
A little less, but like David said, it's pretty well established if you planted it that early.
Yep.
Zoysia latches in pretty well.
That doesn't mean that it's because it's established that it's impervious to any kind of damage that could happen, but it's less susceptible to it, and it will be able to recover from rhizomes that'll be, down into the soil. So he may see that the last part that was put down doesn't recover quite so quickly as the other areas. The other two should be fine. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be.
It spreads good too, so they're very good. All right, and then we have also, where did she go? We have Cheryl, who really wants to cut something, it sounds like. She wants to know what the best time to cut back her laurels from the freeze and how severe, and is it too early to cut back her knockout roses?
All right, no on the knockout roses. Go ahead and get those done.
Yeah.
But look, Cheryl, the plants just went through a shock. They've been hurt enough. Let's not go in there and just whack them right now. We need to see.
Them.
We need to see where they're going to leaf from. Right. So I talked about this definitely on Talk of the Town, is that your laurels may not come back from the very tops like they usually always do. They may come back from halfway down. They may come back from the roots. We, even as horticulturists, don't know. We can't predict the future yet. So I know you want to cut. I know you want to get rid of those ugly leaves. And if you really want to, then go. You can. I'm just recommending that we don't, and we wait to see where that new growth forms, and then we can cut accordingly.
Patience is the most difficult trait to conjure up right about now. As I mentioned in last week's newsletter, tried to encourage people to assess what they have, but don't obsess.
There you go.
And I think people are getting,
They're getting Veruca
they're
Salt
breaking out the
syndrome.
Vegemite
I want it
grain where
now.
They slice it and they dice it and they julienne it and they, it's just kind of let it go for a minute. It's not going to be worse.
Yeah.
And it's January the 14th.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's early.
It'd be at least a couple of months before it's really time to do anything. At least a couple of months.
Yeah.
So just be patient, please. It's really unfortunate that this whole event occurred at the outset. I mean, on the first day of winter, it happens. We have the entire winter ahead of us.
It could have happened on March 21st, and it'd have been
even worse. Yeah, we're honestly a little lucky.
Worse then, but because he already had plants juicing up. But from a patient standpoint, it would have been better. So
chill.
We get what we get. Just hang in there. Look around. Everybody else's look the same. Mm-hmm. Just remember, the leaves are dead. The plants are not.
Right.
That's right.
Hang in there.
All righty, folks. Music means that this edition of the At Home Show is coming to a close. But we're going to come back next Saturday morning. We're going to come right here to the Greenroom studio at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. We're going to give you some more fun. We're going to give you a whole bunch more information. Hey, we may even share some pictures next week that we didn't have time to get up, but we'll see what's going on. But, hey, everybody, be out there, be safe, so you can come back and join us next Saturday morning. We'll see you then.